Hey YouTube, league turnover today. So you do have a new option in Little Element Cup. I went over top teams for that this morning, and it is Great League again. So I will go over some rankings of Great League teams here. But what I'm gonna do is do something a little differently, because instead of just going over the same team, one of the comments I always have in my top teams videos or my videos that I put out are, I don't have this Pokemon, what can I use? And I always find this question kind of confusing, because if you have to ask that question, you don't know how to use the team. Like, you need to be able to understand how to use the team, and you can tell people who copy content creators teams that actually know how to use them versus don't know how to use them at all. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'll go over all my teams that I used for greatly over the first part of the season, and explain not just how to use it, but like why I put the team together and what works, and if you want to adjust it, what you need to do to make it your own team. So if you don't have like I don't have this Pokemon, what do I do? You can kind of know, like, okay, this is how you play the team. This is what Pokemon you need to have in the role, etc. Rankings here, nothing much has changed. You know, I was trying to think, like, we just had Go Fest. Is there any Pokemon that was really out there in Go Fest? But looking at this list, not in top here, like Cloudsire, Diggsby, Fortress, Lapras, Jelstint, not Corsola, Dusclops. I mentioned even my Pokemon you should focus on. You have Dusclops and Dusknoir. So up here in the rankings, Dusknoir at 14, Dusclops at 7, and in the Ultra League as well. You should have hopefully hunted a few of those. Gligar, Samurott, Jumpluff, Feraligatr, Glycopod, Mandibuzz, Corviknight, Gastrodon, Sableye, Steelix, right? So there are not a lot of Pokemon on this top list here that was really readily available for GoFest. But that's okay. We will look at the teams, and I'll keep that handy just in case I need to throw it back up here, because I'm going to talk about safe swaps and stuff like that and what you need to know. Okay, team number 1. I just put out yesterday. The Dene Double Flyer. Okay, here's everything you need to know about this team, why it works, how to adjust it if you need to adjust it. Double Flying is not unique in GBL. Double Flying has always been very, very strong in GBL for a couple reasons. And it could work theoretically with 2 Pokemon that are weak to Electric. I wouldn't really run that right now with Dene everywhere, but in the past there has not been a lot of Electric. So you could theoretically get away with a double Flyer team, double weak to Electric. But that's not what we're running here. We're running Gligar, and Gligar's strength is that it is a ground Pokemon as well. So you single net resist Electric, because you double resist Electric here with the ground. Takes super effective on the flying, which means you single resist Electric, which means that you can run 2 flying Pokemon where one actually resists the Electric. Gligar in this case is double weak to ice. So that's what I put Corviknight in, because the steel will resist the ice and the flying is weak to ice, so that is a neutral. So you're allowed to have 2 flyers that are, at least one is neutral to ice and one is neutral to electric. And what makes it strong, a double flyer strong otherwise, is because it is a meta that has generally been dominated for the last 10 plus seasons by ground, steel. Water's kind of neutralish for this, but just not a lot of electric, not a lot of ice, not a lot of things that beat flying. So that is why Flyer's so strong. So you have something on the lead, and really you can put anything on the lead. I put the Dene because I think it's strong. Usually you put something that is weak to like grass or weak to ground on the lead, because you have the Flyers in the back that will deal with ground and grass. Do you need to safe swap this team? Not necessarily. I think Gligar should be your safe swap. If you want to, again, because they offset each other's weaknesses, you don't really need to pull out a Pokemon. But yeah, so Dene, I would just stay in with anything that works fine and then go in this in the back. Can you adapt this team? First, do you need to use the Dene? No, you really, with this team, have the freedom. Just don't run if you're going to run Corviknight, Gligar in the back, don't run something weak to ice on the front. Don't run something weak to electric on the front. Just make sure that anything you're weak to in the back, like water would be tough too. Don't run something weak to water in the front, because Gligar is also weak to water. So those are the types of things that you need to think about. But outside of that, you have a lot of freedom with your first Pokemon. Can you run a team double weak to electric or double weak to ice? Yes, I've got a couple of teams double weak to ice coming up. I think that there's enough freedom in this cup to run a team double weak to ice. If you think that Pokemon that have ice type moves, you got Dugong, you got a Sandslash, but there's not a lot. Like, even, sorry, I just banged my thing. Like, if you just put in ice up here, like Lapras has Ice Beam, But then your next ice Pokemon is Aurorus, which you're not seeing a lot of. And then, yeah, like I said, Sandslash, Frostlash, you're not seeing a lot of. And then Dugong's even down here at 158. So you can get by with that. And same thing with Electric. Electric is a little trickier now because you do have Stunfisk, Dedenne, and Morpeko. Togedemaru is used more, not used as much. But there's a lot more Electric in the top 55 than we've ever had before. So it's not as easy to use a team double weak to Electric. If you want to, sure. Corviknight with the Sand Attack at least gives you some options there. And pick your second flyer. Again, what also makes Gligar strong is in the back here, you do have the Sand Attack on Corviknight, but you don't have anything for Steals. And that's what makes Gligar always so strong is you have that dig for Steals as well, and Rock. But I guess you have Iron Head for Rock too. So there's a lot of coverage in the back with that. So that is how you adjust the team if you want to play with a double flyer team. This one will be much simpler to explain. Marowak, Drapion, Moltres. So this is a very, very straightforward balanced team. Yes, this team is double weak to Ice. And if you want more of a balanced team, the old school team has Skarmory. So you just put in Corviknight in the back here. And it's basically the old school team was Swampert, Sableye, Corviknight, Skarmory. And it was just very straightforward, a balanced team. Your front Pokemon at the time, Swampert, was weak to grass. Only one weakness in grass. You had a Skarmory, which was Steel Flying, so that resisted it. And you had a Safe Swap in Sableye. So if you don't have Marowak, if you don't have Moltres, you know, if you don't want to be double weak to Ice here, Corviknight, Skarmory is not used as much, but the water Pokemon, like again, Pelipper is not used as much anymore, but Pelipper would work. Another Pokemon there. You can use other Pokemon that are ground or weak to water, or weak to ground, or weak to grass. So like Clodsire, stuff like that would work. And Clodsire maybe not because you're weak to. I wouldn't with the Sableye, with the Drapion, I wouldn't make the double ground weakness. So maybe not weak to ground, but weak to water is fine. Or sorry, weak to grass is fine. You know, when it comes to this, these types of teams are the easiest to run. Let me just bring this up. If you don't know like what are good safe swaps, you can go to PVPOKE. Up here, you can see the overall. You can rank. You can't see the list coming up on the screen here, but they have a list for switches, and they will tell you the sort of best switches, right? You got your spammy Primeapes, which can just kind of, as long as you don't get punished by like a fairy, you can like kind of Rage Fist through a lot. You got your Samurott with Fairy Cutter, Hydro Cannon. The Hydro Cannon users, Samurott for Alligator, even Blastoise, which is maybe a little bit lower, are all good safe swaps. You know, Sableye, like I just mentioned as the OG. Golisopod has always been a strong safe swap, and now there's your Drapion. Gligar is back on the safe swap menu. So these are just very straightforward safe swaps that are generally, what do you want in a safe swap? It says right here, the best Pokemon to switch to from an unfavorable lead. These Pokemon have safe matchups and can pressure shields or do heavy damage even in their losses. And that's the thing, like Shadow for Alligator doesn't care about your typings with these Hydro Cannons. Primeape can just like Rage Fist through a lot of matchups. Golisopod and sort of Gligar and Drapion are all spamming at like 10s, right? X-Scissor, Aqua Jet 10, Crunch 10, Aqua Tail 8, Aerial Ace 10, Dig if you want to go a little more 13. So spamming Pokemon, moves that have enough coverage and can put shield pressure on. And that is what you get just with these safe swaps. So on a lot of these balanced teams, you just find two typings that kind of offset each other. Again, the OG one is Swampert because it only had one weakness in grass, and then Skarmory, which resisted that, and then Skarmory's weak to electric, and Swampert resisted electric, right? So it's a very, very straightforward balanced team. Again, if you don't have one of these Pokemon, get a new balanced team. Like it's very easy just to think of, just go name a random Pokemon that you have that you like. I just did Dedenne off the front, right? Let's go back to Dedenne. Okay, what's Dedenne's problems? It's going to be weak to poison, and it's going to be weak to ground. This is why Corviknight sort of worked, right? Weak to poison, so you got the steel there. Weak to ground, you got the flying there. So just, and then again, Gligar, it's a double flying team, but you can argue that this is the safe swapping Gligar team as well, right? So just pick a Pokemon, think through its weaknesses, how do you cover it, and then find one of those safe swaps that makes sense for your balanced core there. Toxicroak, Lapras, and Corsola. Shadow Toxicroak. So this is my team. I did steal the Shadow Toxicroak from someone because it looked crazy to play and I wanted to test it. And this is the team I built with it. And when I'm building Pokemon like this, and you're probably going to see it on the Shadow Scizor team, these are the ones that I I personally, you don't have to do it this way, but if you're going to play with a super, super, super glassy Pokemon that needs shields, bulk it up with the other two Pokemon. And it's almost like, as long as you don't have a double weakness here, I don't really care what the two Pokemon are. Lapras is half ice. I made the mistake. I figured it out mostly through the video. I think I have another one. Let me just see where the... Did I put it in here? Yep. And it's the exact same scenario here. I'll just kind of loop this up here to showcase it with this one. It is the exact same concept. I'm just going to cover my face so you can kind of see both of them side by side. Super, super glassy, hard-hitting Pokemon that needs shields. Scizor, Toxicroak. Two of the bulkiest Pokemon you have that have enough coverage against the main meta. Lapras, because it is bulky. Psywaves add up quick. Sparkling Aria adds up a lot. You really apply shield pressure. You want to grab shield pressure from your opponent. So you want to grab shields from your opponent. And you don't want a shield necessary. And then two very bulky Ghost Pokemon. And that is my thought, because Ghost is generally safe, very safe in this meta right now. Not a lot of normal typings, so let's just bring up the stuff here. It's going to have problems with Dark and normal typing. Really is the only two things that Ghost is going to have problems with. Darks, yes, there's some, like the safe swaps here. The safe swaps are going to be your toughest ones. Sableye, Drapion. Quillfish, not really used. Pangoro, not used as much. The Annihilate and Primeape are the go-to. And then a lot of the other Darks down in the rankings. Malamar at 74, Morpeko at 98, even Mandibuzz is down to 106. A lot more, even though Mandibuzz neutralizes bug weakness, but a lot more bugs here to scare away the Darks. So there's one of your things gone. And then normal typings. So there's not just generally a lot of normal typings in the meta. There's Diggersby and Ferret. These are really the only two normal typings used. Yes, Linoon's at 31. Oh, sorry, these are still switches. My bad. That's why, sorry, that is why it was so... I was like, why is Mandibuzz so low? Sorry, my bad. But Mandibuzz, Sableye, and then Morpeko, Pangoro, and there you go. Malamar is down at the 50s and Galarian Mulch is 62. I was like, that did not make sense when I looked at it. Normal typings, Diggersby, Ferret, yeah. And then you got Lickitung down at 86 and Linoon down at 107. Like, some Wigglies you're seeing, but outside of that, you're not seeing many normal typings. So if you can avoid normal typings and dark typings, you will be able to kind of run free with the ghosts. So you have bulky ghosts, bulky Lapras as a safe swap. Again, think of other bulky Pokemon. With Toxicroak and Scizor, or Toxicroak in particular, I didn't want to use like Clodsire, because that would make you double weak to ground. So you just got to think through logically, right? What makes sense about this is like Lapras is weak to fighting, which you have Corsola and Toxicroak. Toxicroak is weak to ground, which you have Lapras and Corsola. And Corsola is weak to dark, which you have Toxicroak. So dark's a bit tricky because you have Psywave here, but just think about like the logic through that. So I prefer, when I'm using a glassy Pokemon, to have two bulky Pokemon with this, use the shield on the glassy Pokemon, apply shield pressure with the other Pokemon, which you can see with the Lapras and Corsola. They both spam at 15 or less. Power Gem, Nightshade coming at 15 and 12 for Nightshade, 15s for Power Gem, and Sparkling Aria 12 and 11, and then Ice Beam 14, and then 13 at the end there. So bulky, spam, grab shields. Toxicroak is your sort of sweep win cons. So same thing with Scizor. Scizor is really, really fun. I'm having a lot of fun with Scizor, but man, this thing is so classy. I remember taking maybe it was like a Surf on a Jellicent, and it almost one-shot me after like 3 hexes there. It was just, it does a lot of damage to this Pokemon. So you definitely need some bulk in the back for that. And these two coming up are going to be sort of the same. Is it this one right after? No, it's not this one right after. It is this one right after, which I'm going to cover my face again, because they play a very similar team role and style for a reason. So you may be thinking, I've got a favorite Pokemon I want to use. I got a Pokemon that I think can do well in this meta, but it's got some glaring weaknesses. And Fortress is a top-ranked Pokemon, but it is double weak to fire. And Ninetales, I think, has potential in this meta as a fire Pokemon, because there's a lot more bug, which is weak. There's a lot more steel, which is weak to fire. But there is a lot of ground and a lot of water. So you need to cover, and even some rock coming up here. So you need to have safe swaps and cover your weaknesses, which is why you're seeing a very similar concept here with Jellicent in the back, and then Credilli and Drapion on these ones to use as safe swaps and to deal with the weaknesses. So that is why you're seeing my Credilli with Bullet Seed. Most probably use Acid, and I think Acid is probably a better move. But I think that the Bullet Seed on this team, when you are weak to Rock and you're weak to Ground and you're weak to Water, you want Bullet Seed on Credilli for this. And Credilli with Bullet Seed is a good safe swap. Jellicent, like I just mentioned, you have a half water typing, so you pick up like electric weakness and stuff. But, you know, again, not as many darks, not as many normal typings. So Jellicent could potentially be a good safe swap as well. You have Pokemon that can, and Drapion is a good safe swap, and it has the Aqua Tail for the water for Fortress's double fire weakness. So it's basically balanced team. You stand on the, if you don't see one of your weaknesses, Fortress, if you don't see a fire, or you don't see Bug Bite, it is resisted by a lot of things. So maybe if you have a Bug Bite resistance, you might want to get out. Ninetales, you stay in unless you're seeing, like, again, water, rock, ground, maybe even other fires are a little tricky. And then you safe swap. I'd probably play through the fires, quite honestly. But then you safe swap either Credilli or Drapion as my main safe swaps, but you also could use Jellicent in a pinch here. And then fight for switch if you need to. You probably should be, if there's a fire on the front for Fortress and you safe swap Drapion, and Drapion has any sort of ability to take it in the 1 or 2 shields, you should be fighting for switch here. So that is how you do it. So again, just pick a Pokemon that you think that you like, that you want to use, and just think like, okay, how safe is it, or does it really need coverage Pokemon? And this is one where it's like it really needs coverage Pokemon. And I think that's unlike my last team here, where this is a sort of more balanced and less coverage. Yeah, this is just more balanced. I would, like, you can use Dedenne or Diggersby on the lead. Golisopod is your safe swap, right? Diggersby weak to fighting, weak to water. Golisopod will deal with that. Dedenne deals with most of those. Like, again, Mud Boys may be a little tricky, but you probably just stand with Diggersby because it's so bulky. You can use, I've used like triple safe Pokemon before, so just to bring back up this switch ranking, like I've used teams of Feraligatr, Drapion, and Gligar, would that make sense? Yeah, like something like that. You can use 3 Pokemon that are just so safe that they're able to just kind of stay in the majority of matchups. You can build teams a lot of different ways. Again, my personal favorite way to build a team is a balanced team with switch, which is why you get just like, you can also even go to PVPOKE and go to like suggested teammates. So, because they will cover a lot of the weaknesses as well. So Mandibuzz is the first one on this list. You know, Clodsire is weak to ground. Mandibuzz will resist ground. Mandibuzz weak to electric. Clodsire will resist the electric. So how you can cover their weaknesses down there. And then pick a safe swap. And even, like, they're probably going to suggest Feraligatr and all those, Golisopod, all those ones that they recommended anyway. Golisopod is your safe swap. Double weak to electric if you do this. But again, I'm not. So this is what you need to do. This is what you need to think about. It's like, can I use Golisopod as safe swap? Yeah. But you're double weak to electric. Does that bother you? If it does, maybe there's other Pokemon on here that you can use. Again, they're offering a lot of the, like, Primeape we saw as a potential safe swap that would make you double weak to Fairy. So you do need to kind of weigh out your how to do it. But those are how they essentially have like the basics of team building. So maybe that's hopefully a little more helpful than just showing the same top teams all the time. And yeah, so we'll combo Little Cup and Great League this week. Please submit some battles. Great League, again, if you're going to submit Little Cup earlier in the week would be better. If you're going to submit some Great League teams, you can do it later because then I can just showcase it at a later date. That is it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.